No, I think that's very true. And like you say, and I say in all my books, look, if you don't drink, don't start. It's rule number one, I think. What's one thing that my listeners can do to stimulate hormesis for themselves? You've mentioned several of them.
Yep.
Come on, give us an easy one.
All right. Well, so having read tens of thousands of papers and read your books and studied this for my whole life, if there's one thing that I could say that everybody needs to do, it's eat less often. Yeah. So
Yep.
that's not malnutrition, not starvation. Please, nobody become underweight. But what this means is the 3 big meals a day with snacks in between, in my view, is ludicrous and has led us into a world of obesity. So I've recently, well, actually, most of my life, I've skipped breakfast, but more recently tried to even skip lunch and then have a normal dinner. And it's been great for me. And we know in mice, if you, here's something that I'll leave everyone with before we take the break. I mentioned Rafa de Cabo down at NIH, my good colleague down in Bethesda. He did a study that I think is a landmark. He mixed different types of different amounts of protein, fat, carbohydrate, and gave 10,000 mice different versions of a diet. And they all lived the same lifespan. The group that lived the longest was the group that had access to the food only 2 hours a day, which argues that it's not just what you eat, but when you eat that's important.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And whether we call it intermittent fasted or I like time restricted feeding, which is kind of what you and I do, uh, you're an expert in this field. Would you please tell people why breakfast is not the most important meal of the day?
So I found, at least for myself, and I assume I'm an average person, when I measure my blood sugar, so Steve, I've started measuring my blood sugar with a patch you can buy. It's prescription only, but still, I've managed to convince one of my friends to let me try it. What I found is that and I've heard many others, their blood sugar goes up in the morning. And people like me are not hungry at all when we wake up. And so it's really force feeding for many of us. And I can do quite well without breakfast. And I don't need it. I do much better physically and psychologically, mentally without breakfast. So I think for many people, having a breakfast is not just a waste of money. It's dangerous because it adds up. The calories add up fast.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Both our cortisol and our adrenaline levels rise in the morning, and that, of course, both kick up blood sugar. And I take care of a large number of diabetics, many of whom have been on insulin. And one of the things they don't quite get is they always wake up with an elevated blood sugar, and they think it's because of what they ate the night before. And most of them, unfortunately, then say, oh my gosh, I've got to eat some food and that will bring my blood sugar down. Well, in fact, when they measure it again at 11, their blood sugar is down, and they make this connection that the food brought it down. Well, it didn't. Their cortisol and adrenaline fell normally. Yeah, and as you know, for the last this will be my 18th year. From January through June, I not only don't eat breakfast, but I don't eat lunch. So I'm a mouse at the NIH.
Yeah.
I eat all my calories in a 2-hour window. And so far, so good. As I say, I'll let you know when I'm 150 if the experiment worked.
Right.